Hello, this is Timothy from the Greenhouses for God YouTube channel. This is the fourth video in the series, and this one is called Closing the Gates of Hades, Hell, or the Abyss. Not sure exactly which one of those this was, but since I had the first out-of-body experience to the red planet, like I said, there were many things that were different in me. And so one of those things that had changed is I seem to have a different kind of sensitivity, or a heightened level of sensitivity to things that are going on out in space or in on the Earth magnetically, or maybe a better way to put it is I had a higher level of sensitivity to say electromagnetic fields, or well, it's just hard to describe, because the way that I sense it is the same way that I described before. In the top of my head has certain sensations that are kind of like signature, meaning that there's certain feelings or pulses or yeah, it's hard to describe. But so for instance, if the sun is highly active with sunspots and shooting out coronal mass ejections and spewing electromagnetic energy towards our Earth, and as it hits our Earth, I just feel it. I can't describe it any other way than that. I feel it in ways that are from my head to my chest, to my hips, to my legs. It's like I said, just a sensitivity that to this day I don't fully understand, but I can tell you that there have been so many times where I would feel something strong, and I would go on to see kind of what is going on the sun, or if we were experiencing any kind of space weather, meaning any kind of impact from solar storms to our magnetosphere. Our magnetosphere is like an electromagnetic current that surrounds our Earth, as well as many other objects in space, planets, suns. And so so this is kind of, again, this is very, as it feels like a real stretch of the imagination that a person can feel what's going on in our solar system. Now, in the first video, mind you, when I went to the red planet, I told you that somehow I am connected to that red planet, and I can't, what that means exactly is hard to say. But not only was I aware of when things were going on with the sun, I also became aware of when things were happening with a project called CERN. And CERN, if you've never heard of it, it's a particle collider, and it is it's one of those things where the further you research it, the less you understand. But it's pretty clear that there are many, how do you say, it's just not sure exactly what the purpose is. and I'm pretty clear that there's dark forces behind that project and those types of projects. And many times when I would feel something very strong, and in some cases, feel like, the hair on the top of my head is about to stand up straight, I would go and check and see if CERN was in a mode of cranking up their system, and sure enough, they were. So, having said that, and trying to make that connection about what I've learned about CERN, and maybe what they're really trying to do with that program, I had an out-of-body experience where either me or it was somebody with me, whether it be Jesus, it's hard to say, but we kind of shut it down. Or I shut it down, or Jesus shut it down, and I was just with him. I'm not sure which, but this is how this happened. So I was sleeping, and out of my sleep, it was like somebody was pulling my hair, but they weren't pulling my hair. They an angel or Jesus, I'm not sure. It's like they yanked literally just pulled my spirit out of my body, and I was pulled out, and then stood up, and I was standing in front of a bunch of TV screens. Call them TV screens. It was a bunch of screens, kind of all collected together. And on each one of those screens, there was some kind of disaster. There was some kind of natural disaster that was happening. And I quickly looked at all of these screens, and it was almost like I was getting, briefed on what the situation was, right? And after I looked at all of these screens, I dove into darkness. Like I don't know how long I was going through, but it was, it's like, if you ever been on a roller coaster in the dark, that's how it felt. I was moving, and I was moving fast, but I could not see a thing. I didn't know where I was going. My spirit must have, but so I'm going through this darkness, and then slowly I see a dim light, and I come up on this thing here, which was like a cylinder, and the cylinder was all dark on the outside. And it wasn't like it was kind of fuzzy around its edges, but on the top of it, it was almost like it was kind of like had like a rocky edge on the top edge, and inside was like this glowing fire. And I got up kind of close enough to kind of look inside of this cylinder, like I'm showing you, and just seeing it's like this endless fire way deep down inside of it. And at that moment, and again, this is kind of one of those things where I'm just there in space, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just observing it, really. And there it was, is rotating kind of slowly, and then like these big hands, like two giant hands, come up, and they're like, this hand doesn't give a judgment. Like the hand was maybe 10, 20 times what you're seeing on the whiteboard. And these two hands come, and they go around it and basically like snuff it out. Like it just, and then, it was gone. And then in an instant, I'm just like, again, flying through darkness. And this part was interesting, because when I came back to my body, I hovered over my body for a moment or two, and starting from my head, I went back into my body, and that it felt it didn't feel good. My our spirit bodies are actually much greater than this fleshly container that we're in. It was if you've ever had to put on a wetsuit or something like or super tight clothes, it was just like that. It was like I was really having to squeeze back into that, into my flesh. And so that was another instance where I was like, okay, I'm definitely, it was almost like I was given a task and an angel or Jesus, pulled me out, said, okay, this is the situation, go. And I did, and I came back, and what really happened, did I, or was CERN trying to open up a portal? Was CERN, had actually, it was accomplishing of opening up something wicked or dark? Possibly. I would say that it's probable. And in the Bible, it actually talks about, again, not sure if this was the abyss. I can't say for sure, or if it was just another portal of something. I can't say for sure. But these kinds of things show up in the Bible. And in this particular case, this is in Luke 8. And again, it's kind of regarding demons, which is I've talked about in my past 2 videos regarding demons. And in verse 28, just kind of setting up the situation, they sailed to the region of Gerasenes, which is across the lake from Galilee. When Jesus stepped ashore, he was met by a demon-possessed man from the town. For a long time, this man had not worn clothes or lived in a house, but had lived in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell at his feet, shouting at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, don't torture me." For Jesus had commanded the impure spirit to come out of the man. Many times it had seized him, and though he was chained hand and foot and kept him under guard, he had broken his chains and had been driven by the demons into solitary places. Then Jesus, that's just kind of a more about what was going on with that guy. And then Jesus asks him, "What is your name?" "Legion," he replied, because many demons had got into him. And they begged Jesus repeatedly, "Do not order them to go into the abyss." So the abyss is a container for bad guys. It's like a heavenly jail, if you will. And the demons don't want to go there, but yet when the abyss is opened up, all these things, bad things, dark things spew out. So that was another interesting experience that I had. That was an out-of-body experience that I thought might be interesting for you guys to hear about. And that one, like I said, I don't fully understand, other than the fact that whatever that was, it was something that was open that needed to be closed. Or if it wasn't going to be closed, it was going to start causing great chaos on the world. And I think I mentioned those on those screens. That's what I saw. It was like all of like earthquakes and destruction of cities and all these, destructive things on the screens. So there you go. That's another little tidbit for this video. And on the next one, I'm going to talk about going to fight what I believe was actually Satan himself. So that'll be number 5. I should make it number 6, but it'll be number 5. So this is Timothy from the Greenhouses for God YouTube channel. Until next time.